We're going to be looking ahead to the NFL draft, which is going down next week, next Thursday, 10 days from now, or 9 days from now, I should say. And we're going to be looking at the defensive side of the ball. Raider Jim, I'll give you the honors to get us started. Who are you looking at as some of these top defensive prospects that we'll be seeing as rookies next year?
We could have probably done the entire segment on this.
Yeah.
There are so many good players out there. It's nice to see. So I've really pared down my list quite a bit, and I think it's still a little too long. On the line side of things, of course, what do you say about Jalen Carter? He's the cream of the crop. He is the guy. He's probably going to be the first lineman to go. If not, something's not right in the NFL. There's another guy out there from Pitt, Collegiate County. A little small for a defensive lineman, they say. Listen to the guy who's 5'6", weighs $135, saying that guy's small. But anyway, he is kind of small for NFL-sized lineman. However, he makes up for that because he's a fast player and a smart player, but you could probably put him off the ball, kind of do like off the edge, that type of a thing. I can see that very likely. And another player of similar out of USC, another one of those Samoan players that they always seem to have an abundance of these guys, Tui Tuipulotu out of USC. This kid, again, not big enough maybe to be an NFL interior lineman, but this kid play the edge. Fast, and back him up off the ball, let him play a little bit of linebacker. Cansey and Tuipulotu, I like those guys. True linebackers out there, Jack Campbell out of Iowa. Guy's just a stud. I mean, he's like old school NFL, where's my lunch pail? I got to go to work. And he's got all the tools too. He's fast, he hits hard, and can cover the ball. From the center of the field, he can cover left, right, no problem. Also, Sanders out of Arkansas. Maybe not the caliber player of Jack Campbell from Iowa, but tell you what, one of the most explosive linebackers in the draft. Definitely would be a fit for the Raiders if they could pick him up, but they won't be able to because he's going to go quick, and they need to worry about secondary before they're going to get to a linebacker. Now, I'm not going to get the name right. Henry Tuo, and I can't recall the university either. He is not the best one. He is not the biggest one. However, he's got athleticism galore to compete. The other thing that the other note on him is, they say this is probably the most cerebral guy in the linebacking division right now. I would definitely give him a look. The defensive backs that I like out there, of course, I already said it. Joey Porter Jr., Devin Witherspoon from Illinois, and also Christian Gonzalez from up the coast here, Oregon, I believe. That kid is fast, good. He's got what it takes to play in the NFL. So there's some of my defensive picks.
Yeah, obviously, I think more than I feel like for the last 3 or 4 years, the defensive side of things has just been superior to the offensive, and it is unfortunate because while I think we could be in agreement, maybe not on the same player, but I think all of us are in agreement that a defensive player is the best player in this draft. However, more than likely won't be drafted until maybe pick 3 or 4, depending on how trades go down, just because of the needs of the top teams. Carolina and Houston, they're going to need quarterbacks, and you have to get them when they're ready to go, at the top of the draft. So, the CJ Strouds, the Bryce Millers, the Will Levises, and Anthony Richardson from Florida, 3 of those 4, depending on how drafts go or trades go, they'll go first. But, for me, a lot of the talk has been about the big 3 edge rushers, and Will Anderson, Tyree Wilson, and Lucas Van Ness might be maybe the 3 best players in the draft, let alone 3 best edge rushers. I do believe that these guys have an opportunity, and edge rushers, it's kind of turned into a new position, if you will. Essentially the stand-up, you brought him up, kind of the undersized defensive lineman. And that's what the edge rusher is kind of turned into. I've been hearing a lot, Jalen Carter. I don't quite remember the exact specifics of it, but I do remember Jalen Carter unfortunately had to leave the combine because an arrest warrant was put out for him. And I don't have a follow-up on that or anything. I don't know what quite happened, but I do remember that at Georgia's pro day, he really turned scouts off, as it looked like he was about 20 to 30 pounds overweight, wasn't able to get through a lot of conditioning drills. And I don't think that's a great look for NFL scouts that are looking for a guy to go early in the top, 5. It's going to be very interesting to see if that does affect his draft stock. However, I'm in agreement with you, Raider Jim. If everything is, you take that stuff out and you just look at 60 minutes on the field, I mean, this kid may be one of the best prospects we've seen in quite some time. And you brought up the USC linebacker. Obviously a long lineage of Samoan players coming out of USC. Obviously Troy Polamalu is one of the first one that comes to mind. Ray Malaluga, Lofa Tatupu, who's still kicking, I believe, in the league, and many others out there. He's following in those footsteps, and he was on a defense that, I'm a USC fan. He was the really only bright spot of that defense. There were a lot of holes in that defense. They were averaging 38 to 41 points allowed per game, still almost made the playoff. But I do think that does help because look, a lot of these guys, they're going to go from the Bamas, the Georgias, the USCs winning 10, 12 games a year. It might take you 3 or 4 years on some of these teams to get 12 wins in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So I think to have that, because I do think that does mess with a lot of these kids. When you're a top draft pick, you are uber successful, and your team, I mean, from high school all the way to college athletics, you've been very successful, and now you're going to kind of get the other end of the stick where it doesn't matter what you do. You could have the greatest game ever. You still might lose 31-17, 10, 12, 13, 14 games a year. How do you deal with that mentally? How do you show up for practice week 13 when your team's been eliminated? You have family in town. How do you deal with the mundaneness? You
don't walk in king of the locker room.
Exactly. And yeah, and that's the other thing too. You have to come in and you have to be humble. I don't care if you're coming to the Texans and you're Bryce Young and you show everyone your trophies and your Heisman and stuff like that. Those guys don't care. To you or to them, you're still just a punk rookie who hasn't proved anything at this level. And believe me, you got to, I always go back to one of the best football movies ever. Don't watch it with kids, but I really do think it is a great look into football culture, and it's Any Given Sunday. And I'll always forget Steamin' Willie Beeman, Jamie Foxx, his character, a hot shot quarterback, comes up, all eyes on him. They go to a team party. Lawrence Taylor is the actor. I don't forget the name of the character, but I mean, Lawrence Taylor essentially plays Lawrence Taylor in the movie. And halfway through the party, someone tells Jamie Foxx, hey, go look at your car. And Lawrence Taylor has cut his car in half and says football's about two sides, offense and defense. You can't have one without the other. And that's what some of these kids are going to have to learn, that there are those leaders in the locker room that aren't going to let you be that shriveling little prima donna. And they're going to put you in their place really, really quick. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. We are planning on recording next week as well, and focusing on the offensive side of things and what our teams, what we'd like to see our teams do as we head towards draft night. But